Hi everyone, Tony Tonkin here from Child Protection Party. I wanted to have a conversation about a post that I put up recently in relation to domestic violence. Now, I was happy to get some responses from people. I thought the responses generally were pretty good. But at the end of the day, one of the problems that I had was the comments in relation to how some men and admittedly some women were responding around the issues around domestic violence. And I did post this because there were a couple of instances over the last week in which one woman died and a baby died as a result of domestic violence. And the statistics around domestic violence are basically pretty horrific. And I wanted to find a way by which we could confront what was happening, and particularly as a male, I could confront fellow males about our responsibility around this particular problem, which seems to be endemic in this country, if not around the world. So I put this post out, and I just wanted to make some further comments about this, and I wanted you to join in and have this conversation with me if you like. I'm going to have to jump from screen to screen while I do this, but if you wish to have a conversation with me, please do so. And this particular video is also being fed to YouTube at the same time. So anybody wants to switch to YouTube and do the same, please feel free to do so at the Child Protection Party. So the issue is this, and I'll just endeavour to bring up a picture which I think highlights the issue. So this is a picture of the child Kobe that died at the Whispering Wall here in Adelaide, just down near the Barossa Valley. And when I look at this picture, of course, like the rest of you, I see this young kid, just a few months old. I think she was 9 months at the time of her death. I don't know how old she is here. And it saddens me to think that this child has lost its life because of the behaviour of the child's father. And there's a whole host of issues around this which concern me. The first issue, I think, is that this man was known to be violent, and that in fact, the day before, as I understand it, he went to court to have an order varied around his access to his child, which, for whatever reason, and I'm not too sure of the details, was granted. As a result of the granting of that order, he took the child and hurled himself off this damn wall, and brought the child's life to an end. And I particularly was concerned about that for a variety of reasons. Obviously, we at the Child Protection Party are concerned about the well-being of all kids. It doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter about your ethnicity, doesn't matter about your religious background. It's irrelevant to us. But the child's death at any stage is of a concern to us, as I'm sure it's a concern to you. And in this particular instance, what occurred to me was that the services knew about the domestic violence, or at least the police knew about the domestic violence. Yet no one, it appears, and I could be wrong, and if someone has more information and wishes to correct me, no one stepped in to help this mother and this child escape from what wound up to be a traumatic incident and the loss of a child's life. Now, we at Child Protection Party often are critical of the way the Department of Child Protection work, because there are so many times they make decisions that are really crappy decisions in terms of removing a child. In this instance, they failed to be able to, as I understand it, I haven't received any reports or heard any reports in relation to their involvement with this particular family. But clearly, if you have a male or any particular person within a family who is threatening to kill your child, which the reporting says this particular person was, then surely it's the role of someone like the Department of Child Protection to be able to offer the support that that child and that mother needs so that they can escape from this violence. Now, there are domestic violence services around which would clearly enable these people to find a way to escape and to find a location which could be private and the partner would not have known about. But it takes, to me, and this is the issue, to me it is the role of the Department of Child Protection to protect this child and the mother from what was this horrific, terrible, traumatic outcome. But my understanding was that they didn't do anything. And I'd really like someone to be able to notify us if the department was involved. And if so, they clearly weren't effective, because at the end of the day, their lack of involvement meant the death of a child. Now, I often think, well, if these people came from a poor family, and I don't know their financial status or anything, but if they came from a family that was poor, and that there were clearly mental well-being issues as well, or drug use or some other issue, then I'm pretty sure that they would have been brought to the attention of the department. But because they probably weren't, and because they didn't fit into those sort of neat categories for the department, they were not seen as being important, even though domestic violence is evident. And that there's a disconnect between the families that need help and the areas in which they live and the income that they have, versus other families who need help as well. Men are violent. Violence happens right across the board. It doesn't happen just in low socioeconomic areas. It happens everywhere. And the department, I think, considers themselves the low socioeconomic arbitrators, those people that look after those areas, and that, you know, down at our high right, our places like Kensington and Springfield and Norwood and other places, they don't need to be involved because domestic violence doesn't happen there. People aren't at risk because for some reason, if they have enough money, then they're not at risk of violence, or in this case, kids losing their lives. And there was so I just wanted everybody to understand that one of the other issues that does concern me around this is the way some of the men have got onto our Facebook page and criticised me, number one, for not having enough information. Well, you know, there's plenty of information. Just go to the Australian Institute of Family Studies and just Google domestic violence, and you'll find plenty of evidence, statistics that prove that most violence is by men against women. I'm not suggesting it doesn't happen. I know that it does. I've worked with some of those men who have experienced violence by women. To suggest that I'm not aware of that detail is ludicrous and stupid. So just don't do it. I am aware. But if the majority of the cases are by one particular group, and in this case men, then we need to call it out for what it is. As soon as a male starts to defend this position, to me, it usually indicates that they themselves potentially are an abuser. Because as men, we need to take responsibility for the impact that domestic violence has. We do. We need to, if we're the major contributors to this issue, then we need to take responsibility for our behaviour and how that's impacting others. And in order to do that, we need to accept that it's a problem for us. So we need to call it out. If we see somebody acting badly towards a woman, we need to call it out. If we see someone acting badly towards a woman, we need to be able to offer help to that woman. We need to be able to report it to authorities, but we don't. we tend to turn a blind eye to any form of abuse towards a woman, primarily because we see it, or we embrace it as a cultural issue that sits with us as men, and that we're entitled to do this, and that it's unfair and embarrassing to see men justify this type of behaviour that eventuates in the death of a child or a mother. And you may remember that also this week there was the death of the woman who was incinerated by her partner, where also that was known to the police. And in one of these instances, I can't remember which one it was, the police simply said, he'll get over it. Well, he'll get over it isn't good enough, and he'll get over it. You don't know whether he's going to friggin' get over it. You've got no idea, right? We've got to assume that the worst will happen, and that if a person threatens to kill another person, particularly around at the point that a person is leaving that relationship. So when a woman leaves a relationship, she's 5 times more likely to be harmed than by remaining in the relationship, which, interestingly enough, is one of the reasons why people stay in these relationships, because they're fearful of what may happen if they leave. And we as a society, and we as a party, are concerned that there is not enough legislative weight placed on the fact that someone is suggesting that they will kill another person. And in one of these cases, it's a child. But not only that, in the case in Queensland, a woman was incinerated, burnt by her partner in front of the children. And when we're talking about degrees of trauma, I would suggest that there may be nothing greater than a child watching a person burn, particularly a parent. And then I ask myself, what is it? What is it that would possibly, for me, I can't even conceive of this idea, but what would possibly cause somebody to think that their sense of entitlement to a person is so great that they'll either take them with them in death, or that they will burn them, harm them, sometimes not even kill them, but burn them and disfigure them in the front of children? How does someone possibly believe that any of that behaviour is going to improve the relationship with the person they profess to love? It is so skewed. It is, like, I know that there are times when people get angry. I get all of that. Been there myself many times. I know that in that moment that we're angry, there's a fogginess. There's a sense that this is just overwhelming, right? And in that moment, we can't make decisions. It's impossible for us to make decisions. But for most of us, we move through that. It might last a minute, 2 minutes, a day, but whatever. But we move through it. But for some of these people, it is like a permanent state that they can't see beyond. And the more they can't see beyond it, the more ingrained they become in the beliefs that sit around it. And so the belief that, this person will be somebody that I love, and that, I need to have them in my life, and that if I can't have them, no one can have them. If I can't have the kids because I'm separated, no one can have the kids. That sort of behaviour, that sort of thinking is just so paranoid that it belies any sense of rationality. And I just need to, I can't get my comments up. I don't know why that is. I'm a bit confused. There's some comments coming in. Oh, here we go. And I can't see them. I'm just going to have to bring them. I think I might bring up the YouTube page on another window and have a look at them there. So just bear with, folks. If you've got any comments, please feel free to make them now. And hopefully my computer doesn't die as a result of all this extra work that it's now having to do. And here we go. There's been a few comments. Sorry folks for taking a bit longer than I should to get to them. And Joe said, I asked myself the same questions. Why does this gas and Simmer? Thanks, Simmy. It is a form of gaslighting in domestic violence has just become a thing. I think even though it's been there for hundreds of years, always been the case. But gaslighting, men will never see they're wrong. And this is the issue for me too, is that when I put this post up, I did it with the best of intentions. It was really just to be able to highlight the issues around these particular horrible deaths, and to express my concern as someone who's worked in this area for 30 years that this is the end result, and that we don't seem to be making any progress at the moment. A woman dies every 9 days as a result of domestic violence. I think there was only another one yesterday. So what is happening? Well, how come? The question for me is, how come we can't put a stop to it? And my answer to that is, I don't know. But the way I want to respond to that is by saying, this is the conversation that we need to have. I'm endeavouring to have that conversation with you so that we can get this stuff out there, and so that we can do. And Simi, you're fabulous. So I do appreciate your comments. Men are still not accepting their responsibility to women. And I can't see any other comments here, and I can't understand why under my Facebook feed I can't see them. And I'll just need to sort some of this stuff out. Bear with folks while I do this. Okay. And I still can't see. This is the first time I've never been able to see my comments. So, if you still want to make more comments, what I'll do is I'll go back and have a look at this live feed at the end. I don't want to sit down and have an argument with you about what it is that that women are also complicit in this. And there is an argument, and I'm tired of hearing it. Women remain in these relationships, and they do. But we do need to understand why it is that they do remain. If someone's told, for example, that their child, that they're going to kill, that this person is going to kill a child if they leave, that's a pretty compelling reason to stay. If they go to a service and they get dismissed by that service, or they go to the police and the policeman says, there's one policeman says, well, he'll get over it. You're not going to carry this any further. You're going to feel hopeless and helpless, and you're going to feel lost, and you're not going to do anything about it because there's nowhere else to go. For a lot of these women, they've been isolated from friends and other people in their lives, and family in particular, and they have no one to go to such as that can help them. So we need to understand why women don't leave, but we need to make sure that men who behave like this are, well, I think that if a man threatens to kill a woman and a child, or a child's pet, then that person should be incarcerated. I don't think there's any excuse for that sort of behaviour. They should be incarcerated, and those that they're threatening should be safe. And sometimes, to be safe, the victims may need to change their names, leave the state, whatever. They may need to do that. And we should have a system, and there is a system, I think, within Centrelink whereby that can be achieved. But we need to be more robust about how we deal with people who behave in this horrific way. And we need to let them know, we need to let men know that, and I don't believe necessarily that putting those laws in place is necessarily going to stop men from behaving badly. But I think what it will do is help to protect women and kids. And that should be our priority. the men get out and they can't find these people, well then that's fine. There is a good chance that they might find ways to move on with their lives. There also is a good chance they might find who these people are. That's another threat as well. But if they do, if they make contact in any way, they should be locked up for longer periods of time. So we need to make sure, and the Child Protection Party will be making sure that when we can, we will be advocating for change around legislation so that men who broke apprehension violence orders, men particularly who talk about killing their partners and their children, will find themselves in front of a magistrate who hopefully will lock them up. I'd love to think would throw away the key so they never get that opportunity to hurt or to harm people as these people have done in these two instances that we've talked about. So if you've got, I'll just see if I revisit those comments again. They are left lifeless and stop wanting for themselves. Thanks, Simi's doing some great work there. I really do appreciate it. I noticed there's some more comments coming through. I can't see them all. But what I'd like you to do is to continue the comments. I'll get back to them after I've finished the live feed. And hopefully we will be able to have further conversations about how this has impacted. If you've got any ideas and if you'd like to join with the Child Protection Party about any of the things that we're talking about, please do. We're on a membership drive at the moment. It's really important that if you wish to become a member, it's an opportunity now to have free membership for a little while we're getting our AEC accreditation. So dive in, do that. If you've got ideas that you want to talk to us about at CPP, we'd love to hear them. There are certain committees in each state. If you want to get on one of those committees in the state to start to advocate for some of these things that we're talking about so we can improve outcomes for kids generally, then please do so. It's a wonderful opportunity to get involved. So get involved with CPP. We are here. People say, you know, Tony, do you ever get tired of doing what you're doing? Do you ever see change, that sort of thing? And I had this discussion just today actually with somebody, and I was thinking, well, you know, if you do nothing, you're not going to get anything in return, that's for sure. If you do at least something, you don't know what the outcome might be. I don't know what the outcome is. I know that providing a voice for people through CPP is really important, and we're able to do that. If you want to have a conversation with us about what's happening to you, we will offer suggestions. We'll do what we can to help you. We won't necessarily solve your problem, but sometimes us just hearing a range of stories about what's been happening to you is paramount in helping us to develop better ways of thinking, better ways of developing our policies and procedures so that you will have better experience around the Child Protection Party. And that when we get people elected, as we will, when we get people elected, there will be an opportunity for your voice to be louder than it ever has been before. And that is worth fighting for. Some of this stuff I've talked about today in terms of domestic violence and how we need to penalise people who make threatening comments to their partners or to people they say they care about, that sort of issue needs to be raised. You know, unless you have a voice with people who have the authority to make the changes required, then you're silent. We have that voice, and we want to make sure that you have the voice through us. So if you can, go to childprotection.party and join us so that we can make the difference required, so that we can protect women and children, any victim of violence we will protect. Thanks everybody for being with me. It was great that you could just spend this time with me. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get back to all your comments as you were making them. Please continue to make them. I will respond as soon as I finish with this video. So thanks everybody. Take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly than anything else, be safe.